Hi, this is Jeremy with Tillett Realty and Associates, and I'm going to show you how to make a CMA or comparative market analysis by using the MLS. This is the home page of the MLS. You can customize it however you'd like, but I usually go to Search, Residential, and then Quick. And all the criteria I really need for this is here in the Quick View. You need to specify the homes you're going to be looking at by the subdivision. Um, your home that you're selling is probably in a specific subdivision unless it's in a rural area, and this makes it really easy. So let's say we're going to sell a home in the Timber Creek subdivision, and I'm going to put a star after it. If you don't put a star after it, it would you'd have to have everything typed in very specific there, or it won't pull it up. But if you put a star after some of your criteria here on the MLS, it allows you to pull up anything that shows with Timber Creek. And also we're going to make sure that this is the Timber Creek edition in McKinney. All right, and because we're making a comparative market analysis, the homes that are active or maybe under contract, that's good data to look at, but it's not good data to compare hours to as far as trying to come up with a good listing price. So we're going to click sold here because we need to look at the sold data, not the active data. The active data is very good though to compare and see what you're up against, see their price per square foot, or see how many upgrades some of these houses have that are for sale versus yours. But as far as coming up with a price, we need to be looking at the sold data. And you'll see right here, it comes up with any homes sold within the last 90 days. You can make that more, you can make it less. I usually keep it right there around 90 unless I have a hard time finding something that's sold, then I may extend it out a little bit. Or if you get tons of data, you may narrow it a little bit. But there it is, Timber Creek. McKinney, we've got 15 homes that are matching right now. I usually leave price alone, usually bed and bath I leave alone, but square footage is a big deal. So let's say we're going to list a house that is 2,000 square feet. I don't want to only look at 2,000 square feet houses, so I'm going to give a little bit of range inside and outside of that. So let's say 1,500 square feet to 2,500 square feet. That should give us some houses right around the area that we're looking for. Acres in a subdivision, it's usually very similar, so it doesn't really matter. You're built, again, in a subdivision, usually pretty close to the same age. If you're in a subdivision with a huge age range, then you may specify a certain year or newer, or a certain year or older. Number of stories does matter. Let's just say that this house that we're going to be listing is a one-story house. So we only want to look at one stories. We don't want any two stories to come up. Garage spaces, I usually leave that alone as well. All right, so that's most of the criteria we need to be looking at. So we'll click on results. And then once we're in here, we're going to see some of the houses that look, just by numbers, look like the home that we would be listing. And let's say that all of these look like the one that we would. There's nothing in here that that would make it not be a good fit. So I've clicked that, and then if there was one that wasn't great, then you don't check that box. Let's say they're all good. All right, from here you're just going to click on CMA, and then you're going to either create a new contact, or if the person is already in your contacts, then you can do that. So let's pick Myrna here. For the description, a lot of times I just put their house number. So 1, 2, 3. But you would put in their address here. All right, so the way you do it is you go across these tiles right here. So we're on the start page, and next is pages. You can customize this. You can make it however you want. These right here are the selected pages that I feel like whenever I hand the sellers their comparative market analysis. These are the ones that do it justice the most. There's some other great ones in here that you could check out, but these are my preferred favorites. So those are the one I've selected, and then you'll click on subject. You can type in the subject property fields manually, or you can autofill. I usually try manually. And then I'll type in the street number, as much of this as possible. Also, if you're a Tillett Realty and Associates agent, um, I usually put our logo, our square logo, in this area right here. You can put a picture of the house, but a lot of times if we're just at the point of getting a comparative market analysis, we don't have a good picture of the house yet. So I usually just put in our logo there, and it looks very professional. Then you'll do that through browse and all of that. And then once you do that, it'll also go on the front page as well. That same logo will. And then again, you'll fill out as much of this as possible. I'm not going to fill in any right now just for time. But year built, you won't do a lot of this because you're coming up with the price. You don't have the price yet. But year built, I usually do fill that in, total covered parking, things like that. All right, so once that's all done, I'm going to do the cover. Again, I usually put the square Tillett Realty and Associates logo here through browse, and then here would be your information. Then you would just fill in your seller's info right there. All right, so it's going through the comparables. These are the comparables that we've checked off. And if you wanted to exclude any right now, you could click on them, and then it allows you to remove them if you're like, oh, that wasn't a good fit. But again, we're going to keep them. So we'll click on map. And then this shows all of the properties that did sell that we're comparing to on the map, where they're at in your subdivision. All right, adjustments. I usually do view in detail mode. And here's where you're going to do your adjustments for each one. So this is a 4 beds, a 2 bath, 2,100 square feet. Usually I'll do an adjustment here, and you can ask me later on how many dollars per square feet do you find on difference, and I'll explain that later. But this is one of the big areas that I do, is I usually just adjust on square footage. If the lot size is much different, then I'll adjust there. If it's got many extra bathrooms, I may adjust a few $1,000 here or there. And then also the total number of garage spaces. I'll give an allowance or deduct based on garage, and then also a pool, just on those sections. But the biggest part is total square foot. So that's 1 of 7. Again, this is the second property of 7. You would go through the same process for each of these. Go ahead and click on next for each of them after you've filled them out. This is the most important part, so take your time on them. I'm just clicking through just so I can show you the next section. All right, so after you're at the 7 of 7, you go on to pricing. Okay, so in pricing, it'll show you based on price per square foot mostly, it'll show you an estimate of what they think it should be listed for. So in this part right here, suggested list price, this is where I'll usually put some verbiage in similar to this. All right, so the suggested price, this is usually what I say. Based on the comparable homes in your neighborhood, the data suggests that your home should sell for between this number and this number. I look at a couple of numbers here. Once I've put in all the data, they will actually come up and give me, right here it says cannot calculate price, but whenever you actually do put in the data there, they'll come up with a price, and I'll look at that, and I'll usually see what that looks like. Also, I'll look at the average price per square foot for all of these homes, and I'll see what that is, and see, and I would keep that average price per square foot, use my square footage, and see what that number would look like as well. So I come up with usually a $10-ish thousand range here. And then in this section here, I would type out some notes just saying that will determine the final list price once I'm able to come and look at your house and look at the upgrades you have or repairs needed that you have versus some of the sold properties on this list. And then that will help guide you towards the high price range, high end of the price range, or the low end of the price range. And then after that, you just click finish, and then that will save it. You can from there you can email it to your prospect, or what I like to do is I like to hand it to them in person so I can explain things in person. A lot of times I've seen if I email it to them, they'll come up with a handful of questions that really don't make a lot of sense because they've just had they're trying to raise their price versus hearing you out whenever you're explaining each part of this. So that's about it. Again, if y'all have any questions, please always feel free to ask, and I hope this helped. Have a great day.